your mind is always racing. Stress, worries, endless thoughts. But real relaxation isn't just about closing your eyes. It's about knowing the right tricks to quiet your mind instantly. In this video, you'll learn powerful mental techniques to slow down, let go, and sink into pure calm. Just sit back, breathe, and let your thoughts drift away. Let's begin. The mystery of hypnagogic hallucinations. Have you ever been on the edge of sleep, drifting between consciousness and dreams, when suddenly, out of nowhere, you hear a voice whisper your name? Or maybe you see strange shapes flashing behind your closed eyes, like a dream bleeding into reality. That eerie, surreal experience is called a hypnagogic hallucination, and it's one of the strangest tricks your mind plays on you. It's that brief moment when your brain isn't fully awake, but isn't completely asleep either. A liminal space where reality bends, logic breaks, and the subconscious takes over. It's like your mind is giving you a preview of dreams before you even fall asleep. Now, most people don't think much of these fleeting hallucinations. They assume it's just a trick of the light or a random sound in the room. But here's the thing, these moments reveal something profound about how your mind works. They show you the raw, unfiltered way your brain processes thoughts, memories, and emotions. In this state, your mind is no longer bound by the rigid logic of wakefulness. It starts to think in images, sensations, and fragments of forgotten dreams. And sometimes, those fragments are beautiful. Other times, they're unsettling, voices in the dark, shadowy figures, or the feeling of something watching you. You've probably experienced this without realizing it. Imagine you're lying in bed, eyes closed, body still, and then suddenly, a sound clear as day rings out in your head. A door creaks open, a phone rings, someone calls your name. But when you open your eyes, there's nothing there. That's your brain testing the waters of sleep, throwing random signals at you as it disconnects from external reality. And the deeper you go, the weirder it gets. Colors morph into faces, geometric patterns twist and turn, and sometimes you feel like you're falling just for a split second before jerking awake. That's your brain misfiring, your body reacting to a dream before it even begins. But here's where it gets really interesting. Hypnagogic hallucinations aren't just random noise. They can be influenced. Your mood, your stress levels, even what you were thinking about during the day can shape what you see and hear. Ever notice that when you're anxious, these hallucinations feel darker, stranger? Maybe you see a shadow in the corner of your mind's eye, or hear something that feels ominous. But when you're calm, the images are softer, flowing lights, abstract patterns, distant music. It's like your brain is a projector, and your emotions are the film. Some of the greatest minds in history actually used this strange state to their advantage. Thomas Edison, Salvador Dali, and Nikola Tesla all intentionally hovered in the hypnagogic state, using it to tap into deep creative insights. They would hold an object in their hand, like a ball or a key, and as they drifted off, their grip would loosen, the object would fall, and the sudden noise would wake them up, right at the edge of sleep. In that moment, their minds were brimming with surreal, dreamlike ideas. They'd jot them down before they faded, capturing creativity straight from the subconscious. But here's the crazy part. Hypnagogic hallucinations aren't just visual or auditory, they can be tactile too. You might feel like something is brushing against your skin, or like you're sinking into your bed. Sometimes, people even feel a presence in the room, a feeling so intense it sends chills down their spine. Your rational mind knows no one is there, but in that half-dream state, logic doesn't matter, it feels real. And the moment you snap fully awake, the presence vanishes like smoke. Now let's talk about the floating sensation, one of the most fascinating tricks of the hypnagogic state. You're lying still, perfectly relaxed, when suddenly you feel weightless, like your body is lifting off the bed. It's not a dream, not quite, just a sensation so vivid it tricks you into believing it. That's because your brain is slowly disconnecting from physical reality, easing you into a dream where gravity no longer applies. And if you stay in this state long enough, something incredible happens. You might feel like you're drifting through space, flying, or even stepping out of your body entirely. Some people report seeing bright flashes of light just as they fall asleep, like bursts of static in the darkness. Others hear snippets of conversation, random, meaningless words strung together, like echoes from a dream. And then there are those eerie moments when the hallucination isn't just a sound or a light. It's a fully formed image, a face, a person, maybe someone you don't recognize, maybe someone who isn't supposed to be there. And before you can even react, it's gone. There's an unsettling theory that hypnagogic hallucinations might be connected to ancestral survival instincts. Think about it. Our ancestors had to be hyper-aware of danger, especially at night. The rustling of leaves, a shadow moving in the distance, these could mean life or death. So maybe as we drift into sleep, our brains do a quick safety check, throwing out random alerts just to make sure nothing is lurking in the darkness. It's a leftover reflex, a built-in warning system that fires even when there's nothing to fear. But the best part, you can harness this state. Instead of fearing the strange voices or bizarre images, you can observe them. Stay in that limbo a little longer. Let your mind play with the hallucinations instead of snapping awake. If you can do that, you'll unlock something incredible, a direct link to your subconscious, a place where creativity flows effortlessly, where deep relaxation is automatic, and where stress melts away as your brain rewires itself for sleep. The next time you're drifting off and you hear a phantom whisper or see a flash of light behind your closed eyelids, don't panic. Don't open your eyes and shake it off. Instead, let yourself sink deeper. Follow the hallucination, let it guide you. Watch the colors shift, listen to the sounds, feel the sensations without resistance. That's the secret, letting go. No fear, no control, just pure, effortless surrender to the moment. And the deeper you go, the more profound the experience becomes. The mind is a vast, untamed landscape, and hypnagogic hallucinations are one of its strangest, most beautiful phenomena. So embrace the weirdness, enjoy the surreal, and the next time your brain whispers something strange as you fall asleep, just listen. You never know what secrets it might reveal. The strange time warp of sleep and dreams. Have you ever had a dream that felt like it lasted hours, even though you were only asleep for a few minutes? Or maybe the opposite, you close your eyes, drift off, and then suddenly wake up, feeling like no time has passed at all. It's one of the strangest things about sleep. Time bends, stretches, and warps in ways that make no sense. One moment, you're reliving an entire lifetime in a dream, and the next, you're jolted awake in what feels like a blink. But why? Why does time feel so completely different when you're dreaming? The truth is, when you sleep, your brain disconnects from reality. The clock on your wall, the steady rhythm of the world, it all fades away. Inside a dream, there's no ticking second hand to keep track of time. There's just experience. Moments unfold fluidly, untethered to the rigid structure of reality. Your brain doesn't measure time the way it does when you're awake. Instead, it compresses, expands, and rearranges events based on emotion, memory, and narrative flow. That's why a dream can feel like an entire day, or just a fleeting instant. Think about the last time you had a vivid dream. Did it follow a logical sequence, or did events jump from one scene to another without any warning? You're walking down a street, and suddenly, you're in a childhood home you haven't thought about in years. Then, in the blink of an eye, you're on a spaceship, floating through the cosmos. In dreams, time doesn't move forward in a straight line. It bends and loops, shifting in unpredictable ways. That's because your brain isn't bound by reality. It's building a story in real time, and stories don't always follow a clock. But here's where it gets even weirder. Scientists have tried to measure dream time. In lucid dreaming experiments, people who are aware they're dreaming have been asked to count seconds in their sleep. And guess what? Their perception of time is surprisingly close to real time. But when they wake up, they remember the dream as being much longer or much shorter than it actually was. That means the distortion doesn't happen inside the dream. It happens when we wake up and try to make sense of it. It's like our brain struggles to convert dream time into real time, so it just guesses. Now, have you ever had a dream where you were waiting for something? Maybe you were stuck in traffic, watching the clock, or sitting in silence. That kind of dream drags on forever. But action-packed dreams, full of running, fighting, or exploring, those feel fast, That's because your brain speeds up or slows down time based on how much information it's processing. If nothing is happening, time crawls. If too much is happening, time disappears. It's like fast forwarding or pausing a movie, but it's all happening in your head. And let's talk about nightmares. Why do nightmares feel so long? You're being chased, trying to escape, and no matter how fast you run, you never reach the end. That's because fear stretches time. Your brain goes into overdrive, scanning for danger, replaying details over and over. That extra processing makes the experience feel longer than it actually is. It's the same reason why real-life emergencies, like car accidents, feel like they happen in slow motion. Your brain is hyper-aware, capturing every tiny detail, making the moment stretch endlessly. But the strangest time warp of all, the dream within a dream effect. You wake up, thinking the dream is over, only to realize you're still dreaming. Then you wake up again, and again. Each time, you're convinced this time it's real, only to be pulled back into another layer. It's like an infinite loop, a staircase with no end. That's your brain playing a cruel trick, trapping you in a cycle of false awakenings. And the scariest part, there's no way to tell how long you were stuck there. Ever had a dream that covered years of your life? Maybe you lived an entire alternate reality, full of memories, emotions, even relationships, only to wake up and realize none of it was real. That's not just a story, it's something people actually experience. Some dreamers report spending decades inside a dream, building entire lives, only to wake up in their bed, confused and disoriented. Imagine waking up one day and realizing your family, your job, your entire world was just a figment of your imagination. That's the terrifying power of dreamtime distortion. And then there's time skipping in dreams. One moment, you're in one place, and suddenly, without warning, you're somewhere else. Days, months, or even years later. No transition, no explanation. Your brain simply fills in the blanks, making it feel like time passed normally, even though you skipped right to the next scene. It's a storytelling trick, like cutting from one scene to another in a movie. Your brain doesn't care about the journey, only the important moments. But the real mystery, why does time feel so different in different kinds of sleep? Ever noticed that a short nap can feel endless, while a full night's sleep vanishes in an instant? That's because of REM sleep, the stage where dreaming happens. REM sleep follows a weird cycle, starting short and getting longer as the night progresses. If you wake up in the middle of REM, your dream feels intense and stretched out. But if you sleep straight through, you never notice time passing at all. Some believe the dreamtime effect is connected to memory storage. When you're awake, your brain records events in a structured way, but in dreams, memories get reshuffled, reorganized, and rewritten. That process doesn't follow real time. It happens at the speed of thought. So when you wake up, your brain tries to reassemble the dream into something that makes sense, and in doing so, it distorts the perception of time. But here's the ultimate question. Could dreaming change the way we experience time in real life? Some monks and meditation masters claim they can extend time in their minds, experiencing hours in minutes. Could that mean dreams are just practice for something more? What if our perception of time is just a limitation of our waking state, and in sleep we glimpse the truth that time is flexible, subjective, and completely under our control? So next time you wake up from a dream that felt like an eternity or a blink, pay attention. What did your brain just do? How did it stretch, compress, or skip time? Maybe it's not just a trick. Maybe it's a clue, a hint that time isn't as solid as we think. A reminder that in the end, the mind is the only clock that truly matters. The subconscious art of mind wandering. Have you ever noticed that your best ideas never show up when you're forcing them? You sit down, ready to think, ready to create, ready to solve a problem, and your brain just locks up. But then, when you're doing something completely unrelated, taking a walk, washing the dishes, staring out a window, that's when the breakthrough happens. That's the power of mind wandering. It's your brain's way of solving problems, making connections, and unlocking ideas while you're not even trying. But why does it work? And more importantly, how can you use it to your advantage? Your mind is always active, even when you're not paying attention. Right now, As you listen, there's a whole network inside your brain operating in the background, sorting through memories, linking ideas, scanning for patterns. It's called the default mode network, and it kicks in when you're not focused on anything specific. This is the state where creativity thrives, when your thoughts drift, when your attention relaxes, when your mind breaks free from its leash. Think about the last time you had a genius idea. Where were you? Probably not at your desk, staring at a blank page. Maybe you were in the shower, lost in thought. Maybe you were lying in bed, about to fall asleep. Maybe you were driving, with music playing in the background. That's because, when your brain isn't under pressure, it explores freely. It connects things that normally wouldn't go together. And suddenly, boom, the answer appears. Mind wandering isn't just daydreaming. It's a highly sophisticated process where your brain revisits old memories, imagines the future, and experiments with different possibilities. It's like a secret lab inside your mind, running simulations while you're not even aware of it. That's why people who let their thoughts drift often stumble onto insights that seem to come from nowhere. But they're not coming from nowhere. They're coming from deep inside you. Ever noticed how some of the world's greatest minds were known for taking long walks? Nikola Tesla used to wander the streets for hours, lost in thought. Charles Darwin spent half his day walking in circles around his garden. Steve Jobs was famous for his walking meetings, where he'd pace back and forth, letting ideas unfold naturally. They all understood something crucial. When you stop forcing your brain to think, it starts working on its own, in ways you never expected. And here's the weird part. Mind wandering doesn't just help with creativity, it helps with problem solving, memory, and emotional processing. That's why when you're struggling with something, an argument, a tough decision, a painful memory, you can't always fix it by thinking harder. But if you let go, step away, distract yourself with something simple, your brain works on it in the background. And when you return, the answer is clearer. This is why boredom is more valuable than people realize. When you're constantly distracted, scrolling through your phone, watching TV, filling every second with stimulation, you never give your brain a chance to wander. And without wandering, ideas don't connect. That's why some of the most creative people make time to do nothing. They let their minds drift. They embrace silence. They create space for insights to emerge. And speaking of insights, have you ever had that experience where you suddenly remember something from years ago, completely out of nowhere? You weren't trying to recall it, it just surfaced. That's because, when your mind is wandering, it searches through your entire mental archive, pulling up things you forgot existed. This is why nostalgia often hits when you're doing something mundane. Your brain is free to explore, and sometimes it stumbles onto fragments of your past. But the real magic, mind wandering, can help you predict the future, not in a mystical way, but in a deeply practical way. Your brain is always running simulations, imagining different outcomes, testing scenarios, rehearsing conversations. That's why when you let your thoughts drift, you sometimes stumble onto solutions before you even know there's a problem. Your subconscious is always a few steps ahead, putting the puzzle together before you even realize there's a missing piece. And it's not just about problem solving. Mind wandering can bring peace. Think about it. When your mind drifts to a pleasant memory, when you replay a moment of joy, when you imagine a future that excites you, that's your brain giving you a gift. It's reminding you that your world isn't just what's in front of you. It's bigger, deeper, filled with connections that stretch across time. But here's the trick. Not all mind wandering is helpful. Sometimes, when your thoughts drift, they go to dark places. Anxiety, regret, self-doubt. The same process that unlocks creativity can also spiral into negativity. That's why the key isn't just to let your mind wander, it's to guide it gently. Notice where it goes. If it drifts towards something painful, try nudging it towards something curious, interesting, exciting. You don't have to force it, just steer it. So how do you tap into this power? Simple. Give your brain space. Go for a walk. Take a shower without music playing. Lie down and stare at the ceiling. Do something repetitive, like doodling, folding laundry, or driving on an empty road. Anything that keeps your hands busy, but your mind free. And when a random thought pops up, pay attention. It might be nonsense, or it might be the missing piece to something you've been struggling with for weeks. And here's something crazy. When you get good at mind wandering, you can use it deliberately. Instead of waiting for insights to appear randomly, you can plant a question in your mind before you let go. Before you start a walk, ask yourself something simple. How can I fix this? What's the best way forward? What am I not seeing? Then forget about it. Let your brain drift and see what happens. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history happened this way. Albert Einstein's theory of relativity came to him while he was daydreaming about riding a beam of light. The structure of DNA, discovered by a scientist who saw it in a dream. Even great works of art, music, and literature often come from moments of unconscious insight, flashes of inspiration that emerge when the mind is completely relaxed. And the best part, anyone can do this. You don't need to be a genius. You just need to stop overthinking. Stop trying to force ideas into existence. Stop assuming that productivity comes from effort alone, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back and let your brain do what it was designed to do. Wander, explore, discover. So the next time you're stuck creatively, emotionally, or mentally, don't push harder. Instead, step away, go outside, let your thoughts drift. And when an idea appears, don't be surprised. Your mind has been working on it all along. You just had to give it space to find the answer. The strange science of lucid dreaming. Have you ever been inside a dream and suddenly realized, wait a minute, this isn't real? You're standing in a place that shouldn't exist, talking to people who aren't really there, and then something clicks. You become aware. You wake up inside the dream without actually waking up. And in that moment, you can do anything. You can fly. You can walk through walls. You can rewrite reality like you're living inside a movie where you control the script. That's lucid dreaming, and it's one of the strangest, most fascinating things your brain can do. But here's the question: how does it work? And can you learn to do it at will? Most of the time, dreams feel like a ride you can't control. You're just a passenger, drifting from one strange scene to another, barely questioning the logic of it all. One moment, you're in your childhood home. The next, you're on a spaceship. But something about it always feels normal, even when it's completely absurd. That's because, in dreams, the logical part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, is half asleep. It doesn't step in to say, hey, this doesn't make sense. But in a lucid dream, something changes. That part of your brain wakes up while the rest of you is still dreaming. Suddenly, you have awareness. You can think, question, decide. And that's when the magic happens. The moment you become lucid, the rules of the dream world shatter. Gravity stops being a law and starts being an option. The sky is no longer just the sky. It can be an ocean, a galaxy, a swirling canvas of whatever you imagine. You can summon people, change locations, even bend time. Some people use lucid dreams for fun, treating them like a personal video game where they can do the impossible. Others use them for exploration, diving deep into the subconscious, searching for meaning, answers, or hidden fears. And then there are those who use them for training. Athletes who practice movements in their sleep, musicians who rehearse songs in a dream world, even scientists who visualize complex problems and wake up with solutions. But here's where it gets even stranger. Your brain doesn't fully know the difference between a real experience and a vividly imagined one. That means, if you practice a skill inside a lucid dream, you can actually improve at it in real life. Studies have shown that when people rehearse movements like playing the piano, shooting basketballs, or even lifting imaginary weights, their real-world abilities get better, even though their bodies never moved. It's like hacking your brain's learning system, using dreams as a secret training ground. And the best part, anyone can learn to do it. Lucid dreaming isn't some rare mystical ability, it's a skill you can develop. The first step is simple: start questioning reality. Throughout the day, ask yourself, am I dreaming? Really think about it. Look around, check the details, look at a clock, look away, then look back. If the time changes randomly, you're probably dreaming. Try pushing your finger through your palm. If it goes through, congratulations, you're not awake. The more you do these reality checks while awake, the more likely you are to do them inside a dream. And when you do, that's when you wake up inside the dream. Another trick, keep a dream journal. The moment you wake up, write down everything you remember. Dreams fade fast, slipping away like mist in the morning. But the more you train your brain to remember, the more aware you become. And awareness is the key to lucidity. Over time, you'll start noticing patterns, strange symbols, repeating locations, odd little inconsistencies that hint, this isn't real. And once you recognize those signs inside a dream, you'll know. But here's where it gets really mind-bending. Lucid dreaming isn't just about having fun. It's about unlocking parts of yourself that normally stay hidden. Your subconscious mind is always running in the background, filled with memories, emotions, and ideas that never quite make it to the surface. But in a lucid dream, you can talk to it directly. You can ask the dream itself, what do I need to know? And sometimes, the answers that come back are so profound, so personal, it feels like you're speaking to something deeper than yourself. Some people use lucid dreaming to face their fears. Imagine being terrified of heights, then finding yourself in a dream, standing on the edge of a skyscraper. But instead of panicking, you remember, you're in control, you jump, you fly, and suddenly, that fear loses its grip. Others use lucid dreams to process emotions, reliving moments of grief, closure, or healing in a way that feels just as real as waking life. Some even use it to meet versions of themselves, their past self, their future self, or some deeper, wiser part of their own mind. And then there's the really strange stuff, the things science still can't fully explain. Some lucid dreamers report shared dreams, where two people claim to have met inside the same dream world, describing the same events from different perspectives. Others talk about dream guides, mysterious figures that appear inside lucid dreams, offering wisdom, showing the dreamer things they never would have thought of on their own. Are these just projections of the subconscious, or is something deeper happening? No one really knows. What we do know is that the dream world is limitless. It's not bound by the rules of physics, time, or logic. It's a pure expression of thought, shaped by emotions, memories, and imagination. And inside that world, you can experience things that feel just as real as waking life. If you've ever had a dream so vivid, so powerful, that it stayed with you for days, you know exactly what I mean. And here's the kicker. What if life itself is just another kind of dream? Think about it. The only thing that makes a dream feel real is the fact that you're inside it. But when you wake up, you realize it was never real at all. What if the same thing happens when we die? What if at the end of it all, we wake up somewhere else, remembering this life as nothing more than a long, vivid dream? Maybe that's why lucid dreaming feels so profound. It's a reminder that reality is flexible, that the mind is more powerful than we think, that the limits we believe in, gravity, time, identity, are only real until we learn to bend them. And once you've woken up inside a dream, even just once, you'll never see reality the same way again. The mystery of why time feels faster as you age. Have you ever noticed how time just slips away? When you were a kid, summers felt like forever. A single afternoon could stretch out into an eternity of bike rides, cartoons, and endless imagination. But now, the weeks blur together. A month feels like a blink. A year disappears before you even get used to writing the right date. And the strangest part, the older you get, the faster it moves. It's like time is speeding up, pulling you along whether you're ready or not. But why does this happen? Why does life start to feel like one long, accelerating ride toward an invisible finish line? It turns out, your perception of time isn't fixed. It's shaped by your brain. Time isn't something you pass through at a constant rate. It's something your mind constructs, moment by moment. And when you're young, everything is new. Every day is packed with fresh experiences, things your brain has never seen before. That's the key. The more new memories you form, the longer time feels. But as you get older, life settles into patterns. The same roads, the same routines, the same conversations. Your brain stops paying attention. It stops recording the little details. And when you look back, it feels like time vanished. Think about your childhood. Do you remember every single day? Probably not. But you remember moments. The first time you rode a bike, the day you got lost in a grocery store, that one weird summer where everything smelled like sunscreen and adventure. Your brain stretched those moments, recorded them in high definition. But now, your days blur into each other. You wake up, go to work, come home, repeat. Your brain doesn't bother saving copies of things it's seen 1,000 times. And when you look back, all that empty space collapses. Time shrinks. Here's something even wilder. There's a mathematical reason for this. When you were 5 years old, a single year was 20% of your entire life. It felt massive, but at 50, a year is just 2% of your life. It's a tiny fraction. Your brain scales time based on how much of it you've already lived. That's why the years seem to speed up. They're taking up less space in your memory. When you're young, every year is a huge percentage of your experience. But the older you get, the smaller each year feels. But here's where it gets interesting. This time warp isn't inevitable. You don't have to let life slip by in a blur. The secret to slowing time down is simple. Fill your life with novelty. The more new experiences you have, the more your brain pays attention. Travel somewhere you've never been. Take up a hobby that forces you to struggle and learn. Change your routines. Meet new people. The more variety you inject into your life, the more stretched out your time will feel. It's like tricking your brain into thinking you're young again. Ever wonder why vacations feel so long when you're in the middle of them, but so short when you look back? It's because your brain is soaking in new details. Every street, every smell, every strange little difference is a new data point, something your mind holds onto. But go back to your daily routine, and everything starts blending again. The trick is to keep breaking the pattern. Surprise your brain, wake it up, make it pay attention. And here's another weird thing. Intense emotions slow time down. Have you ever been in a car accident or a situation where your heart was racing, adrenaline flooding your body? In those moments, time stretches. You notice every tiny detail, the way the light flickers, the exact angle of your hands, the texture of the air. Your brain switches into high-speed recording mode. It captures more frames per second. The more deeply you feel something, the slower it seems to happen. That's why falling in love feels like time stops. That's why grief makes days feel endless. But here's the paradox. If you want time to feel slower, you have to be more present. But if you're too focused on time passing, you'll be stuck watching the clock, making it feel even faster. The key is to lose yourself in the moment, to get so deeply absorbed in something that time stops being something you even think about. That's why kids live in a world where every second feels stretched, because they're always fully inside their experiences. They aren't watching the clock. They aren't worrying about next week. They're just there. And maybe that's the real secret. Maybe the reason time speeds up isn't just because of habits or memory. It's because we start living in the future instead of the present. As kids, we existed in now. But as adults, we spend so much time planning, anticipating, regretting. We live in schedules, deadlines, to-do lists. We stop seeing what's right in front of us. And in the process, time slips away. But you can take it back. You can slow time down. You just have to start living like it actually matters. Because at the end of it all, when you look back, you won't remember the days that blended together. You'll remember the ones that stood out, the ones where you were truly alive. The room reset effect. Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why you went in there? 1 second, you're on a mission, maybe to grab your phone, get a glass of water, or put something away. But the moment you cross the doorway, your mind just blanks. You stand there, confused, staring at the walls like they might hold the answer. You backtrack, retracing your steps, hoping the lost thought will magically return. And sometimes it does, but other times it's just gone, like a dream that evaporates the moment you wake up. It's not just you. This happens to everyone, and there's a strange reason why. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. In fact, it's doing exactly what it's designed to do. When you step through a doorway, your mind hits a reset button. Psychologists call it the event boundary effect. Your brain treats rooms like chapters in a book. The moment you enter a new space, your mind clears the slate, getting ready to absorb whatever happens next. It's like a built-in way to stay organized. But in the process, it erases the previous moment, sometimes before you've even had a chance to hold on to it. Think of your memory like a whiteboard. When you're in one room, everything you're thinking about is written there, clear and readable. But the second you walk through a door, it's like your brain picks up an eraser and wipes the board clean. It doesn't delete everything, but it prioritizes the new environment over the old one. It's trying to help. It assumes you're done with whatever you were doing before, so it lets it go. But if you weren't actually finished, well, too bad. That thought is now floating somewhere in the abyss, just out of reach. This effect is so strong that even virtual reality can trigger it. In experiments, researchers found that people forget things more often when they move between rooms, even if those rooms aren't real. Just the act of stepping into a new space sends the signal to reset. It's an automatic function, one your conscious mind has almost no control over. That's why it happens instantly. One step, and the memory is already slipping through your fingers. But why does your brain do this? The answer lies in efficiency. Your mind is constantly filtering out information, deciding what's worth remembering and what's just background noise. If it didn't, your thoughts would be an endless mess of unfinished ideas and old fragments piling up on top of each other. So instead, it compartmentalizes. It treats every new space as a new mental folder, and when you step into that new space, it closes the last one, whether you were done with it or not. This might sound like a flaw, but it's actually a feature. Your brain is built to focus on the present. Imagine if you carried every single thought from room to room. Your mind would be overloaded. You'd struggle to adapt, to notice new details, to engage with what's actually happening around you. The room reset effect keeps you mentally fresh, helping you stay situationally aware. But here's the funny thing, sometimes your lost thought is still there. It's just locked in the last room, waiting for you to come back. That's why retracing your steps actually works. When you step back into the previous space, your brain reactivates that mental folder. It's like opening a saved document. You're restoring the exact mindset you had before, and suddenly, the thought comes rushing back, like it never left. Ever notice how this happens less often when you're deeply focused? If you're really concentrating, like carrying a full plate of food or listening to a song stuck in your head, you don't forget as easily. That's because your attention is anchored. Your brain holds onto that thought, refusing to wipe it away. But if you're in autopilot mode, just casually walking into a room, that's when the reset kicks in. Your brain assumes it's safe to clear the board. This effect is even stronger when you're tired. When your brain is low on energy, it's more likely to take shortcuts. It resets faster, forgets more easily, and struggles to retrieve lost thoughts. That's why, late at night, you might find yourself wandering aimlessly, standing in the kitchen with no memory of why you're there. It's not just exhaustion, it's your brain being even more ruthless about clearing the slate. But here's the cool part, you can override the reset. If you really need to remember something, say it out loud before you move. Repeating a thought, even in a whisper, forces your brain to hold on to it. It gives it weight, making it harder to erase. Writing it down works even better. Even if you never look at the note again, the act of writing strengthens the memory. It's like planting a flag, something for your mind to grip onto as you move between spaces. And then there's the power of visualization. If you picture what you need to do, imagine the glass of water in your hand, feel the weight of your phone, you're more likely to keep that memory intact. Your brain processes visual information more effectively than abstract thoughts. The more tangible you make the memory, the harder it is for the reset effect to wipe it away. But maybe, just maybe, forgetting isn't always a bad thing. Maybe your brain is onto something. It's teaching you to live in the moment, to stop carrying the unnecessary weight of unfinished thoughts. Sometimes, forgetting why you walked into a room is just a reminder to be here now, to stop, take a breath, and let go of whatever was cluttering your mind. Because in the grand scheme of things, Maybe that forgotten thought wasn't as important as where you are right now. The sleep paralysis phenomenon. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, completely unable to move? Oh. Your body is frozen, locked in place, like something is holding you down. You try to lift a finger, try to call out for help, but nothing happens. And then you feel it. Oh. Presence. Something lurking in the shadows of your room. It's watching you, waiting, and no matter how much you struggle, you can't move, can't scream, can't even blink it away. Welcome to sleep paralysis. This isn't a dream. You're fully awake, your eyes open, your mind sharp, but your body trapped. It won't respond, like you're stuck between worlds. One foot in reality, the other in some nightmarish void. And that's when the hallucinations start. Figures standing at the edge of your bed, a shadow crawling across the ceiling, a pressure on your chest, like unseen hands pressing down, suffocating you. It feels so real, so inescapable, that you're convinced you're not alone. Sleep paralysis is one of the most terrifying experiences a person can have. But here's the thing, it's not supernatural. It's not ghosts or demons. It's not some dark entity feeding on your fear. It's your own brain glitching out, caught between sleep and wakefulness. And once you understand what's happening, you can take back control. Your body is designed to paralyze itself every night. It's a safety feature. When you sleep, your brain disconnects from your muscles, locking them in place so you don't physically act out your dreams. If this didn't happen, you'd be punching, kicking, running in your bed, maybe even hurting yourself. So paralysis is normal. It's how your body keeps you safe. Wonders your body keeps you safe, but sometimes your mind wakes up before your body does. You regain consciousness, but the paralysis hasn't switched off yet. You're stuck, aware but immobilized, caught in that brief moment where your body is still convinced you're dreaming. And because you're in this strange in-between state, your brain does something even stranger. It starts hallucinating. See, your brain doesn't like empty spaces. It craves patterns, faces, shapes, something to explain the unexplainable. So when you wake up paralyzed, your mind goes into overdrive, desperately trying to make sense of what's happening. It reaches deep into your subconscious, pulling up your darkest fears, twisting them into shadow figures, and suffocating presences. That's why so many people see the same things. That's why so many people see the same things. The old hag, the faceless man, the shadow crawling up the walls. These are universal fears, wired into our most primal instincts. But here's the part that really messes with you. The hallucinations feel real. They don't feel like a dream. They feel like something is actually there. Your brain can create sound, movement, even touch. Some people hear whispers. Others feel hands gripping their wrists, pressing on their chest. And because your body is paralyzed, your mind panics, feeding the fear, making the hallucinations even worse. And the fear, it's ancient. Cultures all over the world have stories about sleep paralysis. In Japan, it's called kanashibari, bound in metal. In Mexico, they say a dead person is sitting on your chest. In medieval Europe, they believed it was demons, succuba, witches, and you can see why, when you're frozen in bed, unable to move, and you feel a weight pressing down on you, suffocating you. What else could it be? But let's break it down. It's not a demon. It's not a ghost. It's your own mind playing tricks on you. The weight on your chest, that's just your body struggling to breathe deeply because your muscles are still in sleep mode. The shadow figures, just hallucinations created by a half-dreaming brain. The feeling of being watched, that's your brain's hyper-awareness kicking in, trying to protect you from a threat that isn't there. And here's the best part. You can break free. When you're trapped in sleep paralysis, the worst thing you can do is panic. Fear makes it stronger. But if you stay calm, you can slowly take back control. Try wiggling your fingers or toes. Tiny movements that tell your body it's time to wake up. Focus on your breathing. Instead of struggling, relax into it. Remind yourself, this isn't real. The moment you let go of the fear, the hallucinations lose their power. Some people have even learned to turn sleep paralysis into lucid dreaming. Instead of fighting it, they **, let themselves slip back into sleep. But this time, they take control. They move, fly, reshape the dream world around them. They go from being prisoners in their own body to gods inside their own mind. And here's the craziest part. Some believe that sleep paralysis isn't just a glitch, that it's actually a doorway, a moment where your mind is free from the limits of your body, where you can see beyond the veil of reality. Some claim to have seen things they weren't meant to see, experienced moments of profound clarity, even encountered entities that didn't feel like hallucinations. Maybe that's just another trick of the brain, or maybe it's something more. Either way, the next time you wake up frozen, unable to move, with a shadow lurking at the edge of your bed, don't be afraid, because now you know what's happening. Now you know it's not a monster, not a ghost, not some evil force trying to steal your soul. It's just you, your own mind, caught between two worlds. And if you can stay calm, if you can remind yourself that you're in control, you'll wake up. The shadows will vanish, the weight will lift, and just like that, you'll be free. The false mirror effect. Have you ever stared into a mirror for so long that your face started to change? At first, it looks normal, just you, staring back. But the longer you hold your gaze, the more unsettling it becomes. Your features start to warp, your eyes darken, your skin shifts, shadows appear where there shouldn't be any. And then, suddenly, it doesn't feel like you anymore. It's like there's someone, or something else, looking back at you. This isn't just your imagination, it's called the false mirror effect. And it happens to almost everyone. If you stare at your own reflection for long enough, your brain starts playing tricks on you, distorting your face in ways that feel bizarre, eerie, and sometimes downright terrifying. But why? Why does your own reflection, something you see every day, start to feel so alien the longer you look at it? The answer lies deep inside your brain, in the way your mind processes familiarity and perception. Your reflection is one of the most recognizable things in your life. You see it every morning, every night. It's supposed to be stable, predictable. But when you break that rhythm, when you stare too long without blinking, without looking away, your brain gets confused. It starts filling in gaps, trying to stabilize an image that's not changing. And that's when the weirdness begins. See, your eyes don't actually send a perfect picture to your brain. They're just collecting data, light, movement, shapes, and your brain assembles the final image. It's an active process. Your mind constantly updates what you see, smoothing out imperfections, fixing inconsistencies. But when you stare at the same thing for too long, that process starts to break down. The signals from your eyes become weaker, and your brain starts making assumptions instead of seeing reality. This is where the distortions come in. If your eyes stay locked in place, tiny microscopic movements in your muscles cause subtle shifts in your vision. Your brain tries to compensate for these shifts, but in doing so, it starts rearranging your face in ways that don't quite make sense. Your mouth might stretch, your eyes might sink, your nose might look twisted. These changes aren't real, but they feel real because your brain is the one making them happen. And then there's something even stranger. The longer you stare, the less familiar your reflection becomes. Your brain stops recognizing it as you and starts treating it as something else. This is why, in extreme cases, people report seeing a stranger in the mirror. Some even say their reflection starts moving on its own, changing expressions, shifting in ways that don't match their real face. It's like watching a version of yourself that isn't entirely under your control. This is why so many cultures and myths fear mirrors. The idea that a mirror might show you something other than yourself has haunted humanity for centuries. Some believe that mirrors are portals, not just reflections, but windows into another reality, another version of you that exists in a parallel space. Others believe that if you stare long enough, something else might stare back. Science tells us that this effect is just an illusion, a glitch in how our brains process images. But here's where things get unsettling. Some people claim to have seen things that go beyond simple distortions. They don't just see their face morphing, they see other faces, faces that don't belong to them, faces that look wrong. Some see hollow eyes, twisted smiles, features that look like they were never supposed to exist. Psychologists call this the Troxler effect, a phenomenon where staring at something for too long causes parts of it to fade away or change. Your brain starts filtering out details, replacing them with whatever it thinks should be there. And because your subconscious is filled with deep buried fears, your brain pulls from those. That's why the things you see in the mirror feel eerie, unnatural. It's not because the mirror is haunted, it's because your mind is exposing you to images buried deep inside yourself. This effect is even stronger in low light. If you've ever done the classic Bloody Mary game as a kid, you know what I'm talking about. You stand in front of a dimly lit mirror, say her name 3 times, and suddenly, your reflection starts to shift. But it's not a ghost appearing, it's your own brain-breaking reality for a moment. The darkness makes it harder for your mind to process details, so it starts filling in gaps with nightmare fuel. Some scientists believe that this phenomenon might be connected to how we recognize faces. The human brain is wired to see faces everywhere, in clouds, in tree bark, in the shadows of your bedroom. It's called pareidolia, and it's an evolutionary survival mechanism. But when that system malfunctions, when you stare at your own face for too long, it starts making errors. The face you see melts, morphs, distorts, turning into something almost inhuman. So what happens if you keep staring? If you let the effect take over completely? Some people say the longer you watch, the deeper the distortion goes. That you reach a point where you're no longer looking at yourself at all. You're looking at something else entirely. A version of you that isn't quite right. A version that doesn't blink when you do. A version that smiles when your lips don't move. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. But here's the thing, this is just your brain, doing what brains do, trying to make sense of something that's breaking the rules. There's no ghost in the mirror, no alternate version of you trying to break through, just a simple neurological illusion, playing tricks on your perception. But then again, if it's just an illusion, why does it feel so real? The inner voice illusion. Have you ever stopped to listen, to really listen? To that voice inside your head, not the voice you use to talk to others, but the one that talks to you, the one that whispers your thoughts, narrates your experiences, debates with you, scolds you, reassures you. That voice, the inner voice, feels like a second version of you, a quiet presence that always lingers just beneath the surface of your awareness. But have you ever wondered who or what is actually speaking? Most of the time, you don't even notice it. It's just there, blending into the background of your mind. But when you do stop to listen, it feels separate, like a second you, a shadow self observing from the inside. Sometimes it's helpful, guiding you through decisions, reminding you of things, keeping you focused. Other times, it turns against you, whispering doubts, fears, endless worries. And sometimes, it does something even stranger. It talks back. But here's the real mystery. If you are the one thinking, then who is the one listening? Why does it feel like your thoughts are coming from somewhere else? Like there's another presence inside your own head? Is this just the way the brain works? Or is there something deeper happening? Something we don't fully understand? Science tells us that the inner voice is simply your brain processing language internally. It's a function of your working memory, a way for your mind to hold on to information, rehearse ideas, plan ahead. But that explanation feels incomplete, doesn't it? Because this voice isn't just words. It has a personality. It has moods, opinions, arguments. It can feel like a best friend, a worst enemy, or something entirely alien. And sometimes, it doesn't even feel like it belongs to you. Have you ever had a thought pop into your mind that felt completely random? A phrase, a sentence, a weird intrusive idea that seems to come from nowhere. You didn't choose to think it, it just appeared, almost like it wasn't yours at all. This is where things get unsettling. Some researchers believe that the inner voice might be a byproduct of consciousness, a leftover remnant of how our ancestors used to think. Long ago, before language fully developed, the human mind might have externalized thoughts, treating them as coming from gods, spirits, or unseen forces. Over time, as self-awareness evolved, those voices turned inward. but the feeling of separateness never fully disappeared. That's why, even today, your inner voice can feel like someone else speaking inside your mind. But here's where it gets even weirder. Not everyone experiences an inner voice the same way. Some people hear it as a clear, distinct voice in their head, with its own tone and rhythm. Others don't hear words at all. They think in pure concepts, in images, in abstract ideas that only turn into words when spoken out loud. And then there are those rare individuals who don't seem to have an inner voice at all, just silence, a direct stream of thought without any verbal narration. So what does this mean? Are our minds structured differently? Or is it possible that the inner voice isn't as universal as we think? Could it be that this second you is actually something you create, rather than something you're born with? Here's something even more mind-bending. Your inner voice isn't always under your control. Have you ever tried to silence it? To stop thinking in words entirely? It's nearly impossible. The more you try, the louder it gets. This is because your brain is wired for constant internal dialogue, an ongoing commentary that helps you make sense of the world. But the fact that you can't stop it raises an unsettling question. If you aren't controlling your thoughts, then who is? Some philosophers argue that the inner voice is proof that consciousness itself is divided, that the self isn't a single unified thing, but rather a collection of different processes working together. Your inner voice might be just one part of you, one layer of a much larger system that includes instincts, emotions, subconscious patterns. And when you hear that voice speaking, you're only aware of one part of the equation. But here's where things get truly eerie. If your inner voice is just a function of the brain, why does it sometimes feel so separate? Why does it argue with you? Why does it predict things before you consciously realize them? Why does it sometimes know things that you don't? Some people believe that the inner voice might be more than just an illusion, that it could be a deeper hidden part of the self, something ancient, something buried beneath the surface of everyday thought, a connection to something greater, something we don't fully understand. What if your inner voice isn't just a tool for thinking, but a doorway to something else? Think about those moments when your inner voice suddenly gives you an insight, a realization, a flash of wisdom that feels like it came from beyond yourself. Those moments when you hear something in your mind that sounds more profound, more mysterious than anything you could have consciously thought up. Is that just your brain processing ideas, or is it something else whispering to you? And what about dreams? When you dream, your inner voice doesn't disappear, it transforms. It takes on different personalities, different perspectives. Sometimes in dreams, you even hear voices that aren't yours. Where do those voices come from? Are they just fragments of your mind, or something more? And then there's the strangest mystery of all. What happens when the inner voice goes silent? Have you ever had a moment where your thoughts suddenly stopped? A moment of total, eerie quiet, where for just a few seconds, there was no narration, no commentary, just silence. People who experience this describe it as profoundly unsettling, like stepping into an empty space where something should be, but isn't. Some say it feels like they've briefly stepped outside of themselves, like they've touched something beyond the normal boundaries of thought. So what is the inner voice? A tool for thinking, a fragment of the subconscious, a hidden connection to something beyond our understanding. Maybe it's all of these things, or maybe, just maybe, it's something we've never truly figured out.